Ace Lightning is a 2002 British children's television show that was created by Jim Corsten and Rick Sickelko, and the show was known for featuring a mix of live actors and CGI characters, which was a first for weekly television shows. The show follows the adventures of a teenager named Mark Hollander, who comes across a supposedly non-existent 7th level of a video game called Ace Lightning in the Carnival of Doom during a lightning storm. After a lightning bolt strikes the houses in Tenny, the game's characters come to life through a surge of electricity, with Mark eventually becoming Ace's sidekick, changing his entire life. Despite the show only airing 39 episodes in a span of 2 seasons, the show was quite popular at the time, so much so that the BBC was apparently planning on airing a 3rd season. It is currently unknown why the BBC failed to pick up the show for a 3rd season, and there is some solid evidence of season 3 being made, which are 2 pieces of concept art for characters that Rick Sickelko reportedly claimed would have been villains in season 3. It's also unknown if any other work was done in relation to the 3rd season. During World War II, the Disney studios were commissioned by the US government to animate and release various propaganda shorts, and one of those shorts was named Chicken Little, not to be confused with Disney's later 2005 film. The short was released in 1943, and it was based on the namesake fable, with its message telling American audiences to not believe any propaganda related to the enemy. The short would revolve around Foxy Loxy, a fox that uses advice from a psychology book in order to lure a barnyard's poultry community into his den and successfully kill all of them. It is rumored, though, that the short was originally going to be less subtle on its message, with Foxy Loxy reading a copy of Adolf Hitler's Mein Kampf instead of a psychology book, and the bird's wishbones being marked with swastikas at the end. However, those ideas would later be changed, in order to avoid having the short feel outdated after the war. And before I continue any further, I will show you the differences between the dialogue of both the original and final cuts of the short. In the original cut, Foxy Loxy exclaims propaganda before consulting his Mein Kampf book for the first time. In the released cut, Foxy Loxy exclaims psychology before consulting the namesake book for the first time. In the original cut, the first line that Foxy Loxy quotes is, "Propaganda must be aimed first at the least intelligent." In the released cut, the first line that Foxy Loxy quotes is, "To influence the masses, aim first at the least intelligent." In the original cut, the narrator laughs before saying, "Guess that's the end of your stew, Mr. Foxy Loxy." In the released cut, the narrator says the same line, but without laughing. In the original cut, Foxy Loxy tells the farmyard turkeys that Cocky Locky, the rooster that's the leader of the farmyard, shows definite fascist tendencies. In the released cut, Foxy Loxy says the word totalitarian instead of fascist. In the original cut, Foxy Loxy ends the short by saying to the narrator, "Oh yeah, that's how it ends in Mein Kampf." In the released cut, Foxy Loxy ends the short by saying to the narrator, "Oh yeah, don't believe everything you read, brother." In a cartoon research article about Chicken Little, it and its original cut are mentioned, with the article sharing the short's original script and mentioning that animator Milt Gray once said that he had the original cut in a movie theater during the 1960s, although we don't know if that statement was honest or not. Apart from that, a comment made by Chris Sobinak that was a response to a comment made by Bill Cotter in the article's comments section shows what seems to be a layout sketch of Foxy Loxy reading Mein Kampf, although it is unknown if that layout sketch was even drawn by any Disney storyboard artists. It's also unknown if the short was changed during production or completed and later changed afterwards, as the layout sketch seems to imply one of said cases. However, the article itself points to the latter case, implying that changes could have been made prior to 1950, the year that Frank Graham, who voiced most of the characters in the short, passed away. Luckby and Ed Tonight and A Room with an Ed are 2 half episodes from the 5th season of Ed, Edd and Eddy that would end up not airing on television. The only evidence we have that may confirm that the 2 episodes exist was both of them being mentioned on the Edtropolis news page in 2005 and 2006. According to the list, Luck Be an Ed Tonight was about Ed discovering that, according to his horoscope, it was his luckiest day ever, resulting in him using it for personal gain. And A Room with an Ed was about Sarah and Jimmy kicking Ed out of his room, so they can turn it into a personal playroom of theirs. It is unknown how far these episodes were put into production, or if they even existed to begin with, since some people claim that Edtropolis has given false information regarding the show in the past. Emmerdale Farm, or simply just Emmerdale, is a long-running British soap opera that has been broadcasted on ITV since 1972, making it air on television for more than 50 years. The show was created by Kevin Laffin, and it is a soap opera featuring storylines occurring primarily within a fictional Yorkshire Dales village. Despite the show originally being intended as an afternoon television show that would last for only 3 months, the show would become very popular, leading it to receive multiple primetime television slots and attract around 5 million viewers per episode. And in 2016, it was declared the best British soap opera at the 2016 British Soap Awards. In December of 1993, the show would air its most famous episode, that featured a plane crash that killed several characters, and it would attract a record 18 million viewers. However, 12 years before the show aired its most famous episode, there was a strike at Yorkshire Television in October of 1981, which was a dispute between Yorkshire Television and its electricians, and this would cause the show to go into a hiatus from November 5, 1981 to January 12, 1982. Strangely, the first episode that was broadcasted after the hiatus ended was listed as episode 703, which shouldn't make any sense, since the last episode Emmerdale Farm aired before the hiatus was episode 696. So was there an executive decision to not broadcast episodes 697 to 702? Well, we still have yet to know if they even exist in the first place, so I really can't answer that question. On April 15, 1912, over 1,500 people died after a passenger ship known as the RMS Titanic hit an iceberg, leaving around 700 survivors of the wreck, and at the time, it was the largest passenger ship. Before the Titanic sank, several photographs of it were taken, but as for film footage, not so much. For many decades, the only known surviving footage was of the ship being docked in Belfast, Ireland, shortly after it was built. And in 1997, film director James Cameron tried to find more surviving footage, particularly that of the ship departing with its passengers waving in the distance. However, the footage Cameron was looking for wasn't known to exist, and many historians thought he was absolutely crazy for trying to find it. 1 year later in 1998, the footage James Cameron was looking for was uncovered. At least, that's what they thought was uncovered at first, since historians would eventually confirm that the footage was of the RMS Olympic departing, the older sister ship of the Titanic. According to the book The Titanic in Silent Cinema by Stephen Bottomore, a few clips were known to have been taken off the boat before it hit the iceberg, and those clips are named Laying the Keel of the Titanic, Transport of Titanic's largest anchor in the world, Launching the Titanic, Titanic leaving Belfast Lock for Southampton, and The Titanic at Southampton prior to her maiden voyage. However, none of these films have surfaced except one, which was the footage of the ship being docked in Belfast. The third film I mentioned, which was the film of the Titanic being launched, was mentioned in the Belfast Evening Telegraph on June 6, 1911, and it should also be known that a second-class passenger named Lawrence Beasley recalled in his account titled The Loss of the SS Titanic, a passenger on deck filming as the ship nearly collided with New York as it pulled out of Southampton, and the passenger he saw may have been a filmmaker named William Harbeck who would later die during the Titanic's maiden voyage. William likely left his camera in the ship's cabin, along with many other cameras that possibly contain footage of the ship's exterior and interior that now rest at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean inside the partially eroded Titanic. Grand Theft Auto Free and Grand Theft Auto Vice City are two open-world action-adventure games, with Grand Theft Auto Free being developed by DMA Design and published by Rockstar Games on October 23, 2001, and Grand Theft Auto Vice City being developed by Rockstar North and also published by Rockstar Games on October 29, 2002. The games were originally released exclusively on the PlayStation 2, but were eventually released onto many other systems, including the Xbox and PC. On April 28, 2003, an article by GameCubicle would be published, claiming that Grand Theft Auto Free and Grand Theft Auto Vice City would be released onto both the GameCube and the Xbox, and although the Xbox versions for both games would be released later that same year, the GameCube versions of the games would never come out. Currently, there is no other information available regarding the GameCube versions of Grand Theft Auto Free and Grand Theft Auto Vice City, and the GameCubicle article is the only time the GameCube versions of both games were ever mentioned. Assuming the ports of the games still exist, it is unknown why they were scrapped, although there are several possible reasons as to why the GameCube versions could have not been released, with one of the reasons being that Nintendo did not want two notoriously violent games on the GameCube. Although this is pretty unlikely, as other M-rated game franchises like Metal Gear Solid and Resident Evil had games released on the GameCube, and other possible reasons being the GameCube not selling as much as the PlayStation 2 and Xbox, and the poor sales of the GameCube version of Smuggler's Run Warzones, which was a game that was also published by Rockstar Games. Given how there is no other information regarding the GameCube ports aside from the GameCubicle article, it is very likely that the two games were never planned to be released on the GameCube in the first place. And before I move on to the next entry, I should mention that the two games alongside the third game in the trilogy, Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, would eventually be released onto a Nintendo console in 2021, when Grand Theft Auto the Trilogy, the definitive edition, was released onto the Nintendo Switch. Every year in San Francisco, California, it would hold the Bay Area Music Awards, also known as the BAMIs, where well-known bands from the city would perform, with the winner being selected through viewer polls. For the 1980 Bay Area Music Awards, the event was to open with the punk rock band Dead Kennedys, where they were scheduled to play their increasingly popular song California Uber Alice. The band came on stage wearing white shirts with a black S spray painted onto them, and started playing the first few seconds of the song, before lead singer Jello Biafra stopped them and said, "Hold it, we gotta prove we're adults now. We're not a punk rock band, we're a new wave band." The band members would then pull a black necktie from behind their necks, and brought them to the front to turn the S on their shirts into dollar symbols, before playing a new song called Pull My Strings, and this would be the only time they would play the song live. The song contains lyrics that insult the music industry in a satirical but lighthearted way, with the opening lines being, "I'm tired of self-respect, I can't afford a car, I want to be a prefab superstar." Other notable sections in the song include short portions of the song being a parody of the song My Sharona by The Knack, which was a huge hit not long before the award show took place. And in the song they played the chorus of My Sharona and replaced the words with "Drool, drool, 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 my payola," with the word payola meaning the illegal practice of record companies paying radio hosts to play specific songs and have them act like it is just a normal part of their broadcast. The show was broadcasted live to radio stations such as KMEL, and there was also footage of Huey Lewis in the news performing that night, proving there were cameras there, although we still have yet to find any footage of the Dead Kennedys performing Pull My Strings, and any other song they performed that night. An audio recording of the event, however, was released on the band's 1987 compilation album Give Me Convenience or Give Me Death, and there is an interview with the band's bassist Klaus Fluoride on the Vinyl Guide podcast, where the footage is brought up. Before I move on to the next entry, I'll let you guys have a listen to the part of the podcast where it is mentioned.
Do you know if any video of this exists at all?
I haven't seen any of it. None has surfaced on YouTube, which is
the indicator.
Indication to me that and Target Video wasn't there. I don't think Dirk was involved in doing anything because it wasn't the Mabuhay per se, and I don't think the band people recorded it. And if they have, they haven't said any. Nobody's gotten in touch with us about the existence of the video. So I don't think it exists. I don't think they did any video of it. It'd be something worth trying to look into again, but to track down the people who were involved in something that happened in 1980 is getting, it's getting become more and more of a cold case.
Yeah.
Lock Up Your Daughters was a supposed horror film starring the famous horror star Bela Lugosi, with it likely being released in 1959, 3 years after Lugosi died. There is only an extremely small amount of evidence regarding the film's existence, resulting in there being a debate on whether the film is lost or non-existent. There is a review of the film that states that the plot of the film involves an evil vampiric doctor, who is played by Bela Lugosi, doing evil experiments on women in an attempt to bring his dead wife back to life. And the review would also claim that clips from Lugosi's previous films were included in the film. There are also reports that the film showed Lugosi as a host, who would show clips from his older films, and some people would also mention that cash would be given to audience members if they could guess the correct film as to which a clip was from. It is also likely that the film was produced by a man named E.J. Fancy, and that it had a short running time of just 50 minutes. The source that expands on the film the most is an article from the Kinematograph Weekly newspaper, but other than that, there is almost no detailed information on the film's plot that can be found anywhere else. And there has been an alleged film poster for the film that has been found, that promotes it airing as a double feature alongside The Neanderthal Man. 2 excerpts from the Liverpool Echo newspaper would eventually confirm that the poster and its information are authentic, and further mention that the film's premiere date was September 13th, 1959, likely proving that the film aired at some point, with it probably having a limited release. Gary D. Rhodes and Bill Koffenberger, who are both authors that have written books about Lugosi, have speculated that Lock Up Your Daughters might contain voiceovers from Bela Lugosi's previous appearance on Murder and Bela Lugosi from 1950, assuming that the film existed in the first place, which we are not entirely certain of. In August of 2000, an image featuring a notably off-model purple Yoshi was posted on IGN's website that resembled a screenshot from a longer tech demo, presumably for the then-upcoming Game Boy Advance. In the tech demo, the Yoshi can be seen from a third-person forward perspective, moving on a forest path, and blue and red spider-like creatures can be seen facing him, before he stretches his tongue out at one to capture or eat it. In 2014, Lost Media YouTuber L Supersonic Q discovered the screenshot on a Space World 2000 image website, and after investigating the image further, he made another discovery in 2018 when he found the image on an ARS Technica forum page from August 14, 2000, along with a Lost Levels forum page containing links to 2 separate sources for the image. The second link on the Lost Levels post led to what seems to most likely be the original source of the purple Yoshi image, which was an archived IGN Boards forum page, where a pixelated version of the image was used to lure viewers into signing up for the handheld boards, in order to see the clear version. On the forum's sign-up page, there was a short description that read, "It's a game screen of some sort, sent to us by our Japanese correspondent." The resolution is exactly that of the Game Boy Advance, and it's possible it might be of an as-yet unannounced Game Boy Advance game featuring a certain Nintendo dinosaur. Or it might be just a mock-up some Japanese publication created as what a Game Boy Advance game could look like. Unfortunately, the matching handheld boards forum thread containing the clear image was not archived, and it is unknown if it provided any additional context about the image. However, given the tone of contemporary references and reposts, the missing reveal post could not have been much more specific than the teaser. It should be noted that it's highly unlikely that IGN would show a fake image in a post meant to hype themselves as a fan resource, so there's a solid chance that the image is real and not edited in any way. The other Lost Levels link on the forum led to a reference on a now defunct fan site called Super Mario 128 Central, which had sourced the image from another unofficial post to the IGN Boards fan forum by a user named Solar Gamer. Solar Gamer had also cited a Japanese source that said this about the image's origin. "There is finally a high-quality Game Boy Advance screenshot. and as you can see, it is of Yoshi. While there is no word on what exactly this game is, it looks a little like Yoshi's Safari for the SNES. According to the Super Mario 128 Central Post, administrators there had reached out to Solar Gamer, but they had proved unable to provide any further useful information. And the Super Mario 128 Central Post also points out that a purple Yoshi can briefly be seen in Super Mario Sunshine, although it is wearing brown sneakers and not green sneakers like the one in the image. Super Mario Sunshine would eventually be released for the GameCube almost 2 years after the purple Yoshi image was first posted, and since the Game Boy Advance wasn't capable of rendering 3D graphics at the resolution seen in the purple Yoshi image, either at its launch or in subsequent upgrades, it's plausible that the image might actually have been pulled from an early demo of a console game, or eventually been incorporated into one. And if the image was pulled from a demo, then there's a chance that a Nintendo game demo is out there waiting to be found. That is the source of the purple Yoshi image. Although it should be noted that there isn't any Nintendo game found at this moment that contains not only this specific Yoshi model, but the blue and red spider monsters and other surrounding graphics. Despite the overtly promotional tone and exclusivity surrounding the image, Nintendo has yet to provide any further information for the image. And as of making this video, it seems most likely that the image was either lifted from a very preliminary tech demo, or mocked up by someone within the Nintendo PR offices, to encourage fan speculation around the Game Boy Advance's release, and not to promote an actual upcoming Game Boy Advance game. Thief is a 2002 British comedy drama that was directed by Jonathan Newman, starring Canadian actor Alan Marriott, who also co-wrote the movie, and Portuguese actress Rita Frazão. The movie is extremely rare and hard to find. So hard to find, in fact, that the movie's existence has yet to be confirmed, since there are no physical copies, screenshots, clips, or even posters of the movie to be found anywhere as of now. The only proof of the movie's existence is that it has a page on IMDb and it is mentioned on Alan Marriott's website. It is possible that the movie was made, but never shown to the public, and it is unknown whether it was released on home media or not. The movie was also produced by Dan Films, and all that is known about the movie's plot, according to its IMDb page, is that it revolves around a 35-year-old man named Dr. Horace Morgan, who is played by Alan Marriott, who works as a doctor and is a virgin looking for a love interest that suffers from having large teeth that serve as a hindrance to him, hence the title of the movie. It is unknown what role Rita Frazão has in the movie, though it is likely she plays Morgan's love interest. It also should be noted that, according to IMDb, the movie runs at 1 hour and 30 minutes long. Tic-Tac-Dough is a game show based on the game Tic-Tac-Toe, in which contestants answer questions in various categories correctly, so they can put up their respective symbol on the board, which is either an X or an O. The first edition of the show premiered on July 30th, 1956 on NBC, with it being hosted by Jack Barry, the show's creator, before it was cancelled in October of 1959 due to the quiz show scandals occurring at the time. The show would eventually be brought back on CBS in July of 1978 for 45 episodes, where it would be moved to syndication in September of 1978, before ending in May of 1986, with Wink Martindale being the host until May of 1985, and Jim Caldwell replacing him until the end of its run. From September to December of 1990, the show would be picked up again with it being hosted by Patrick Wayne, and currently NBC Universal is developing a new version of the show, with Tom Bergeron hosting it, who you may all know for hosting America's Funniest Home Videos from 2001 to 2015. According to the CBS Television City website, there was an alleged pilot for Tic-Tac-Dough that was shot from October to November of 2000 in Studio 36, along with a pilot for the $100,000 Pyramid hosted by Donny Osmond. However, information about the network, host, and gameplay was never mentioned, and the pilot's existence has yet to be verified. As of now, no one from Studio 36 has ever come forward with any proof of a Tic-Tac-Dough pilot being shot in the year 2000, so its existence remains unconfirmed. The world peace/anti-Mexican drug war ad refers to a lost commercial from the Telemundo Costa Central channel, and seemed to have an anti-war theme to it. While it is unknown if the ad even existed or not, there are some pieces of information surrounding it that many people have brought up, which include the ad being transmitted in the area of Santa Barbara in California, the ad being broadcasted late at night around 9 p.m. to 1 a.m., the ad having an opera-like song in the background, and sounding similar to the start of the song Waka Waka by Shakira. The ad showing images of Gandhi and various other undisclosed figures and people at the start, and videos with text in between, and the music changing from an opera to an action movie type song, with the ad cutting to the Tank Man video from the Tiananmen protest in China, and other videos from real-life events. The ad was also believed to have been produced due to the Mexican drug war that started in 2006. That was a low-intensity conflict between the Mexican government and various drug trafficking syndicates, causing various big cartels to split into smaller cartels. However, some people believe that the ad wasn't produced due to the Mexican drug war occurring, but rather due to the Trans-Saharan War that started in 2007 occurring, and that the ad was made and targeted for families of soldiers who were fighting in the war. Some people even believe that the ad was simply produced for kids to learn about how war can produce conflicts, although that's pretty unlikely since the ad was broadcasted during very late hours when most kids were asleep. Unfortunately, there aren't any screenshots of the ad or any moments where it was mentioned in the media, so until the ad is found, we can only speculate if the ad is real or not.